Hello, my name's Dale Hawthorne. Welcome to my channel. And this is going to be a video which I'm going to give about 5 things which I find which sometimes people who come from a military background, when they go into the church, tend to bring a baggage there which causes them problems with others. And I want to say before I get too far into this, most of those from military background and in the military, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, in the United States here, served well and they get along well. They're great people, been great friends, and I've really profited from their friendship many times. But there are 4 things I think which can cause real problems if they don't transition well from that military into the church and can cause problems with other believers. But before we go into this, please click like and subscribe, help the algorithm, and maybe this might reach some people who may need to think about these things and maybe make some adjustments in their lives. So, many as ex-military live and work well within the church, and many continuing in the military do. But I do think that some don't necessarily transition well, and they develop habits there which they bring into civilian life within the church, and even if they go into Christian leadership, and can cause some problems. So the basic thing is, don't try to reproduce aspects that are unique to the military when working with civilians. And sometimes this does happen. Now, the first thing I'll notice and say is military discipline. Military discipline upon civilians. Don't try to manipulate that or force that upon civilians. We haven't been through boot camp. The military physical standards, military discipline might have been helpful for us perhaps, but we're not weak if we haven't been in the military or your branch of service. We're not weak people. Maybe it could have been a help, but if we have everyone who's been through the military, we're a military state then. We're not a constitutional republic like we are here in the United States. And in the church, we are called to discipline ourselves for godliness and to live in humility. But that's not the same as being under military physical standards and being under military discipline. And for those out who are not in the military, as they look upon others, meekness is not weakness. And don't go looking for weakness in other people if they're not haven't been through the same boot camp, the same discipline, the same training you have been. As a matter of fact, that person may be far closer to the humility of Jesus, more like Jesus than you have been. And sometimes people I've seen who come out of the military or in the military despise civilians as being weak. They go through some real discipline of God and hardship in this life until they understand that applied to the military and not to the way they deal with others in civilian life and others in the church. And I think fathers have this problem sometimes too if they come from a military background, particularly if they're officers. They may treat children, their sons, as little soldiers. Your children are not little soldiers. They haven't been through boot camp. They haven't signed up. They haven't been through the physical training. They haven't been through the other training. They're not little soldiers, not little sailors, not little Marines. So, first thing, not military discipline. Second thing, others aren't bound to, or not in the military, don't give military deference. They're not part of the military hierarchy. Don't expect people to salute to you, give a type of respect you would have toward a superior officer, or expect that from civilians, that type of submission or obedience. People, in particular in the United States, do respect military service, so thank you for that. But that doesn't mean that you have the right to give orders, to seek to control others, to seek that type of deference because of a rank that you had over others in the military. Right? So it can be an ego boost to have that type of deference, to be able to give orders. But don't understand that that's not part of the kingdom of God. We're called to have the humility, the servanthood of Jesus, not to get a buzz from giving others orders and trying to boss them around to try to control them. Again, most of those who I know who are officers who've been in the military like that don't treat civilians that way, but I do know that that has happened with some. So don't expect that. Next thing, military responsibility, military hierarchy. Sometimes if you've been an officer, you've been a non-commissioned officer or an officer, you are responsible to report on your subordinates to those of higher rank when there are problems, when there's potential, things like that. But outside the military, you're not responsible for that. You're not responsible for reporting on subordinates or treating others as subordinates, just like in point 2. You're not part of the hierarchy. And especially, you're not responsible. Make sure you don't receive, pass on, gossip, and hearsay. You're not responsible for reporting on others, and that can often get into misreporting if you get wrong information, wrong ideas, if you get some bad feelings about that person. Yeah, backstabbing is real, happens in the military. I know that people don't always tell the truth or aren't always honorable in the military. There's something called chicken, something which happens in the military where people backstab and cause problems for others. But don't bring that into, leave that behind in the military. Keep away from it if you do, if you've seen that, and seek to serve, but and to be truthful. But you do not report on others. You are not within a hierarchy where that is acceptable or appropriate anymore. If you're working among civilians, and especially if you're working in the church or any institution connected with the church, such as a college or seminary, something like that. The standards we have also, number 4. We're not under military standards. We're not under the Uniform Code of Military Justice and Military Ethics. I did have someone try to quote this to me at one point. Strange conversation. But Jesus is Lord. The Bible is our authority. And then the law of the land. And if we have discipline, it's church discipline. We are not under military standards. We're civilians if we're outside the military. And in the church, we're under Jesus is Lord. We're under His authority and under the authority of His Word. So, military standards do not apply to us. Don't quote it to us. Don't try to make us do that. And military mission-mindedness. Yeah, that's great if you're military. You've got your mission to do. But people may try to hoover you to suck you into their personal crusades, recruit you soldiers for someone else's grudges. Yeah, that does happen. Or you may try to do that to others. We're here to serve Jesus, follow His missions. Above all, the mission of taking the gospel to the world. And again, the things I'm saying aren't true of most that I know that are in the military, who are in the church and believers, or in Christian leadership who have been in the military, but it's enough that I think that it does need to be said for those who do bring those aspects that are unique to the military, unique to that situation, try to do that in working with civilians and working with fellow Christians. So thank you for your time, thank you for your attention, and thank you for your service if you've done it.